Hey, what's up guys? Nate here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out Triaz from Wave Alchemy. It's a super cool little drum machine. It loads up in Contact Library. It'll run in the free Contact player, or if you have the full version of Contact, Complete Control, it'll work just fine there. I've actually been using it loads in Maschine, which is why we are in Maschine today. I'm going to show you some of my workflow with this, rather than sort of rehash some of the other stuff that has been done around Triaz on YouTube already. There are some fantastic videos from Wave Alchemy themselves, which I suggest you go and check out if you are interested in this at all. So it features a pretty extensive library. I've got to give them a shout out for the level of quality of the samples themselves. They're impeccably processed. Really, really good samples. I find that most of them don't need a lot of work at all to sit well in the mix. It's really, really out the box, so you can kind of focus on just getting good grooves rather than playing around too much with the mixing. That said, there is some pretty extensive sound design options here as well, some really nice layering options. And it kind of, with Maschine, really adds a nice kind of level of complexity, which I was missing in some aspects of Maschine, to do with the sound design, some of the randomization features in there, and then also the fact that I can change pattern lengths inside of Triaz as well. Maschine obviously only allows you to set up patterns by a specific bar. You can't do sort of 7 steps and then reset something. You can do polyrhythmic stuff with Maschine if you are strictly using different time signatures per pattern, but that doesn't always give me the result that I'm looking for in this case. So anyways, what I'm going to do is we're going to kind of run through my sort of template for Triaz that I have loaded up in Maschine. I've created my own template and saved it as a user group that we can bring in whenever I want. I'll run you through how I set that up and then show you some of the things that I really like about this kind of relationship between Triaz and Maschine. Cool, so I've got a brand new project loaded up here. To get my instance of Triaz loaded, I just got a new group. We're going to come over to Sound Plugin Instance Browser. We're going to go over to our groups. I want to choose user groups, and you'll see I have Triaz default kit here, which I can just hit load. And there we go. So we've got Triaz loaded up now. I've got 12 pads from Triaz, all differently colored over here. And that is the default kit. Triaz itself is on pad 16, so you'll see now once that is up there, I can open up the interface inside of Maschine. You'll notice that if you click on another pad, you're going to lose focus. Then it'll come back up again. So what you want to do is just pin this so that you can work in Triaz and Maschine at the same time. I've also got the start and stop sequence programmed in there as well, so I can stop this individually without having to start Maschine to playback sequences here. Obviously you can link this to Maschine as well to slave it to the host tempo, and that will then start and stop the sequence based on whether Maschine's playing or not. Cool. So just a quick overview. This is the sound design page for each of the pads. You'll also note as well that every time I play a pad, it's changing to that pad on Triaz. This is fine for now, but if you are deciding to use Maschine sequencer, like the step sequencer, for example, and you have some steps programmed in, every time one of those plays, it's going to change the focus for the pads here. So you may want to just click options here and turn off auto select if that is the case. For now, we'll leave it on. Right, we'll come back to some of the sound design stuff in a little bit. I want to just look at the sequencer first. So we can use Triaz now just as a drum machine. So if I want to say use the step sequencer here, we can do that. So it works pretty much like any Maschine kit. Nothing special about that. But now what we can also do is, because these are transferring MIDI to Triaz, Triaz has a record function, so we can transfer stuff from the step sequencer or play in live into Triaz just by hitting the record button. And we have this, we need that synced, and we turn record on and just stop and then just play that back. And you see it will transfer our step sequence, which we can now turn off. And we have that inside of Triaz now. So, like I said, you can do that live too. This also works in reverse, which I'll show you in just a second. So let's play around with some of the sequencing stuff here. So before we continue with the sequencer, I want to show you how to load up a preset as well. We'll come back to our pad mode, and I'm going to run you through just the quick setup of the actual template itself. So if you're going to set this up for yourself, you're going to want to just select all of these first 14 pads. Make sure that you're on the channel section here, go to sound and then output MIDI. Set this to pad 16. So sample 16 is going to be the destination for all of these. Set them all to channel 1 and then all to -24. You can then deselect these and then incrementally just go and change the transpose. So starting on -24, this will be -23, -22, 21, 20, and so forth. When you get to this pad 13, this is going to be set to -5, which is going to coincide with the play inside of Triaz. That'll coincide with stop, and that'll be -4. That's pretty much all you need to do. And then, like I said, you go and actually load your instance on 16. So what we can do now is go to the browser once again, and instead of loading up the group, we'll go to instruments, go off user. We've got Triaz there. We've got all our presets here. We can load in a preset, and you don't have to set anything up on that pad. It's already done for you. There you go. So we've got our new pad, our new group or preset loaded up, and all our pads are coinciding with that. So one of the things that I really like about this, as I said, you can't change the step or the pattern length inside of Maschine. So if we'll find a sound that we can do this with. We'll do it on this number 3, this perk acoustic or whatever. We can go and draw in a pattern here. We'll just do that. And let's also program a kick in here. This is another thing I really like about the sequencers. You've got this option to do sort of an old school drum machine style sequencing as well, where we can single click for 64 velocity, double click for 127, like that. And then the third click will disable it like so. So very much like an 808 or 909 drum machine. It's a nice way to be able to program stuff in there very quickly and easily in this sort of traditional step sequence method. Right, so what we want to do now is also go here and unlink our step or our pattern lengths. We've also got the time signatures, which we'll leave alone. We'll keep those linked for now. We're just going to drag this all the way back down to around 7 and take a listen to what we get now when we play this back. It also means that quite often you don't need to sequence the entire thing. You can just drag in one, reduce the length, and just put a single note in, and that'll be enough. We play around with these two. Let's make some more of these. Actually, I don't even need to do that myself. There's some randomization functions in here, which is pretty good too. You can do that in Maschine as well, but I never kind of get good results from the randomization in Maschine. This one, you can just do something like this. Again, if we wanted to make that shorter, we can do that. If you right click, you can do stuff like that. Draw in a ramp of notes. And you'll notice that that one cancels out one of these. That's because these two are on a choke group. You can't play two at the same time. Play that back. So I could do something like have just a quarter like that, and this crash will only sound for, after 8 bars or something like that. See how much slower that one's moving now. see it's really, really quick and easy to get these kind of unusual sounding rhythms going with this now. This by no means sounds fantastic. I've just very quickly just randomly put in a lot of stuff here, but you can see how you can start getting this sort of interesting motion in your loops. Now, we looked at how you could record stuff from Maschine into Triaz. Triaz will actually work the opposite way around. So you can actually, we'll take the swing down on this one actually. Reduce the slop quickly. You can actually put this back into Maschine now as well if you wanted to be able to edit events inside of Maschine and also have these kind of copied over until the end of a 32-step sequence. So by doing this, you can just come down to the bottom, click MIDI export, and you'll see that's been changed to drag to drop. All we need to do is drag this in and at pad 1, drop it in. You'll see it's transferred all our MIDI now into Maschine, and these ones that kind of repeat themselves, it will just repeat constantly until it hits the end of this Maschine pattern, which will be way down here. So that's pretty neat that we can then turn off the sync functionality on this one, and let's play that back. And you'll notice now that it's only playing the kick. So what happens here is when you're exporting the MIDI from Triaz, it assigns a channel number to each of the exported sounds. So just fix that. It's pretty simple. Just come into Sounds, Output, and select all the pads once again. Change them to 1, and you'll be back in business once again. So if you wanted to know, we can adjust the swing on the Maschine side of things rather, just so that we could have that sync up with, say, Native Instruments group instead. I mean, if we're using samples from Native Instruments in another group on Maschine. And there you have it. So there's a number of other things you can do with the sequencer. I'm not going to get into that. Like I said, there's a bunch of other videos out there that cover a lot of this stuff, but there are some pretty cool things like setting up repeats, adjusting the slop and the start positions. Another cool thing is you've actually got a probability amount for each one, this chance section here. So if you're doing this kind of randomized stuff, you can draw in probabilities. We'll randomize it even further by having a chance for certain notes to not sound. But yeah, like I said, this relationship between Maschine and Triaz for me is really interesting. I really like working with two of them. Even though this kind of involves you getting out of the hardware for a little bit, I like the sort of more detailed stuff that I can do with Triaz and then come back and sequence everything inside of Maschine and sort of combine other sound libraries with that afterwards. So I want to just move into the sound design section a little bit here as well, because there's some pretty cool stuff, again, that Maschine doesn't excel at when it comes to like layering and so forth. So let's jump into the sound section. Like I said, we want to turn off the auto select here. And let's take our clap, for example, and let's just put in that. So one of the downsides here of this setup is you can't really use Maschine's effects to mix the drum sounds individually. However, there's a bunch of effects inside of Triaz as well, which are going to help you in that regard. You've got compression, all sorts of stuff. You obviously can use a group effect over the Triaz output, or sound effect just on the Triaz output itself, but it's going to pertain to the master out. I think you may be able to set up, I haven't actually tried this yet, you may be able to actually set up multi-outs and route those to the pad inputs, the audio inputs for each of these pads. In that case, you'd actually have the same functionality whereby you could actually add Maschine effects onto specific pads as well. But we're just going to take a look at some of the layering now. For now, I'm not going to bother with that sort of multi-out stuff. There's some cool randomization stuff happening here as well. You'll notice you've got 3 sections here. These can be linked together and edited as one sound, or they can be unlinked so that you have control over all of this. You've got this mixer section here, which is really, really intuitive that you can just kind of blend between these 3 sounds. And then you can also randomize these. So whichever, if we open up the sample browser, whichever section you're in, so drum machine claps, we just hit randomize. And you'll hear the other ones are staying the same. It's solo C, for example, and B. There you have. We've got like a nice little blend between all of those now. We can then go in and adjust things like filters, for example. Let's turn some bandpass filter, maybe drive this one a little bit more. We've got individual slop for each of these two. Drive, random panning. Another feature that I quite like here is this reverse mode. We can put the sample into reverse. But now the start time will go from the back end. So we can actually have one sample playing in reverse, one playing straight. Which gives you some interesting effects as well. So yeah, very quick and very easy to kind of blend stuff together and get some different ideas. Like I said, you can do this in Maschine if you're using pad linking, but it's a little bit more convoluted. I prefer doing it like this in Triaz. We can take a quick look at the effects as well, because these are pretty cool. The EQ, I would have liked a traditional style EQ here as well, but this one is pretty handy. If we look at the kick, for example. You can quickly just kind of sweep around until you find a character that you like. Again, you don't need to tweak these too much. They are very well put together. But a little bit more control of this, I thought would be cool. But you know, it does its job for the most part. You got a compressor here as well. The shaper section is pretty cool. Let's take a look at the clap that we had here. We'll just unreverse this one again. You've got a transient designer here. Which is a nice addition. We've got crush, but rate reduction over here. And then the stereo is really nice algorithm as well. Nice wide drum sounds there. Coming over to the send effects, we've got a convolution reverb on B. We've got a algorithmic reverb on A. Delay as well. These are all accessed from this section here. You can turn up your send effects and switch between the reverbs there. You can also assign the keyboard as well to these. You can play tones or pitched drum effects as well just by clicking one of these. And then lastly, I wanted to just show you the master effects. One feature that I really liked, and it's something I haven't seen in too many drum machines, but I think it's a really cool addition, is this little noise generator at the end. It kind of has this ability to kind of just glue things together a little bit, which I really like. Especially if you're doing a sound which you try, or a beat that's a little bit more sort of vintage orientated, you can kind of dial this in. We'll turn that up. You can hear there's various different noises. We've got amp noise here, cassette, Hess lo-fi, static, some vinyl loops as well, and water. So just a nice little addition. I sometimes do this in my projects as well, just layer a bit of noise underneath the drum kit as well, just kind of, you know, bring everything together in its own space. It's really nice that they've included that there as well. So that pretty much covers it. I've really been enjoying this little relationship between Triaz and Maschine. I find it quite intuitive and a lot of fun using the sequences from both of these together to create interesting rhythms very easily inside of Maschine 2. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would highly recommend you go check out Triaz. It's fast becoming one of my favorite little drum tools in my own projects right now. So definitely go check this out. At the time of recording, it is on intro offer for £99. It's a huge library. And I must also mention they don't lock the library sounds behind a contact file. It is freely available as WAV files. You can just bring that into Cubase or Groove Agent or whatever other drum machine that you want to use. I've actually tagged them manually inside a Maschine as well. So outside of using this Triaz group, I can actually bring in the samples via the one-shots over here. And we have Triaz loaded up there. Cool. So yeah, Highly recommend this one. Go check it out. And I shall see you soon right here on the channel. Cheers.